This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
A couple of weeks ago, the remains of Seaman William Clayton Barrett were returned to his hometown of Dorado, Kansas. He left El Dorado in 1940 and joined the Navy, and he was serving on the USS Oklahoma on December 7th when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and he lost his life that day. He was apparently buried in a mass grave on Oahu, and his remains were recently identified, and he was brought home. So I've asked my friend Daniel Martinez, who is the historian at the USS Arizona, if he would speak to the experiences of some of those seamen and some of their families and what's going on now in bringing some of them back home.
My name is Daniel Martinez. I serve as the chief historian at Pearl Harbor National Memorial. That's operated by the National Park Service, and I've been an employee of the National Park Service since 1979. The National Park Service has been involved with the casualties that are being recovered from a mass grave at the Punchbowl National Cemetery. One of them was Seaman William Barrett. The process has been rather interesting in this way is because of DNA and the ability of families to volunteer DNA in search of their missing in action and unidentified relative has allowed them to give DNA to the laboratory in Hawaii to search remains that have been recovered from the mass grave that exists at the National Cemetery of the Pacific, better known as Punchbowl. This has been done with the Oklahoma. It's been done with other Pearl Harbor casualties, but significantly they're zeroing in on the Oklahoma casualties, which as a ship, it was the second largest loss of life. 429 lives were lost on that battleship. The USS Arizona was 1,177. And so through this science, we're able to bring to the relatives, not necessarily the primary ones, the moms and dads or the wife, but rather the relatives of these brave men that lost their lives that day on behalf of their country, to rejoin them, to have them identified and not missing in action, but rather on deck, recognized physically now as a person like Barrett that now has a family that can cherish those remains and now intern them. I think that we thought for many, many years that Pearl Harbor was a closing chapter. Perhaps not. The new chapter is science and identification and bringing those lives that were lost that day to the identity of relatives that cherish that memory. Since the summer of 1985, I took a position as a ranger interpreter at the USS Arizona Memorial at Pearl Harbor, a National Park Service site. And that was the beginning of my permanent career. In my career, I've seen three name changes. We went from the USS Arizona Memorial to World War II Valor in the Pacific National Monument, and recently, as of this year, we are now Pearl Harbor National Memorial. We are entrusted with the history and memory, along with our partners of the Navy that operates the boats that take the visitors to the memorial. We've been involved also with the National Cemetery and the system, and it was called SILHI at the time. This was the identification lab that was located and still is at Hickam Field. And that has been part of this partnership that exists between the Park Service, the United States Navy, and SILHI, the identification lab, in moving us forward to identify or help in identifying the remains not only of American dead, but recently, not that distant, a couple years ago actually, I helped out with identification of a Japanese aviator that was possibly killed at Pearl Harbor.
I'm Deb Goodrich. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you all next time. And in the meantime, I'll be seeing you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.